Something felt off, and not just on the timing sheets. The cameras caught the moment, but it was Rosberg who read it. His eyes locked onto the screen, watching Hamilton's onboard lap with a seriousness that cut through the usual paddock. Chatter. There was heat, noise, engines roaring through the tight streets of Monaco, but Rosberg wasn't distracted. He was focused on the telemetry. The footage paused mid-corner. Rosberg's face shifted. He'd seen enough. Bright red and yellow data overlays flashed on screen. Information most people wouldn't understand at a glance. But Rosberg could. He didn't need to say much. With a quiet, steady voice, he stated what few dared to consider. This isn't just poor handling. There's something wrong underneath. That comment hit hard. The online buzz followed within minutes. Forums lit up. Fans wanted to know what was happening with Hamilton's Ferrari. Not just speculation this time. People sensed something deeper. And if you're someone who cares about what separates real performance from mid-pack confusion, then this moment, well, this was the one everyone would remember. Because what Rosberg pointed out wasn't about a single lap gone wrong. It was something more serious. Hamilton, 7-time champion, wasn't just struggling through a bad setup. He was up against a car that felt unpredictable in the worst way, resisting him rather than responding. His steering inputs were sharp and frequent. Left, correction, right, correction, again and again. The car wasn't flowing. It was forcing him into a constant battle, and then Rosberg leaned closer to the screen, not to dramatize, but because he'd seen it before. He caught signs that weren't visible in the footage: irregular brake temperatures, throttle hesitation, yaw movements that didn't match driver input. It was clear. This wasn't about driver mistakes. Something in the car's structure wasn't right, and now everyone had to start paying attention. For those who've followed Formula One for years, Hamilton's move to Ferrari wasn't just another team switch. It was huge. After spending so long at Mercedes, building a legacy, winning titles, creating history, moving to Ferrari was seen as a bold new chapter, a fresh challenge, a shot at proving himself all over again with a completely different machine and setup. But that fairy tale start didn't happen. From the opening races, things looked unsettled. Lap times didn't add up. The performance wasn't matching expectations. Even as other teams kept bringing effective updates and improving bit by bit, Ferrari's much-talked-about upgrade package just didn't deliver where it mattered. Fans had hoped to see Hamilton fighting at the front. Instead, what they got were confusing weekends, inconsistent grip, shaky performance, and handling that didn't seem to respond the way a top car should. And that's why Rosberg's reaction became such a big deal. He wasn't just offering his opinion as a former driver-turned-commentator. This is someone who's raced against Hamilton, fought for championships, and understands the smallest cues in a car's behavior. His interpretation of the telemetry wasn't just surface-level commentary. It came from deep experience with high-performance machines. So when Rosberg calmly pointed out that the issue might not be driver-related at all, but something baked into the car's core, people started listening. Because in F1, you can argue about opinions all day, but when the data speaks, people listen. Hamilton wasn't just wrestling an uncomfortable setup. What he was experiencing pointed to something more serious. Something built into how the car behaves, from the floor to the suspension to the way it reacts under braking. In every lap, the car was doing things that didn't match Hamilton's style. His hands never stopped correcting. His lines were unpredictable, not by choice, but because the car was pushing back. That's when things started to shift behind the scenes. Rosberg wasn't emotional. He was calculated. Standing next to the screen, pointing out moments where the car twitched mid-corner or lost rear grip without warning. He wasn't criticizing Hamilton. In fact, his tone felt more like concern. He knew what it meant to drive a car that refuses to follow instructions, a machine that doesn't give proper feedback, that keeps you guessing every single lap. And for Hamilton, that's exactly what it looked like. The cameras may have shown a composed driver, but small signs told a different story. The longer pauses during interviews, the quiet walk back to the garage, the look in his eyes, a mixture of frustration and disbelief. Not because of a mistake he made, but because he felt powerless inside the car, like it wasn't responding the way it should, no matter what changes were made to the setup. Back in Ferrari's garage, the mood shifted quickly. Engineers who had spent months working on this car started scrambling. The tire data looked troubling. Rear tire temperatures were rising too fast and not cooling down evenly, a sure sign of a grip problem. And the braking data? Slight inconsistencies. Not huge, but enough to destabilize the car under pressure. Then came the real concern, the rear suspension. It wasn't failing, but it showed signs of flex under high load. And when combined with Ferrari's ground effect-focused floor, the part of the car that manages how air flows underneath, it made the whole package unpredictable. Sometimes the car stuck perfectly. Other times, it broke loose without warning. What was supposed to be a refined, upgraded design now looked like the source of chaos. It wasn't just about adjusting camber or tweaking the wing angle. This was much deeper, the kind of issue that can't be fixed in a single pit stop. Inside the paddock, tension kept rising. Rosberg's comments weren't just causing a stir. On social media, they were forcing Ferrari to re-examine everything. For some inside the team, the warning was clear. This wasn't a weekend gone wrong. This was a red flag for the entire development direction. Conversations behind closed doors quickly turned serious. Some of the senior engineers believed it was time to hit the brakes, literally and figuratively. Their suggestion? Abandon the current upgrade, go back to the older spec that, while, not as fast on paper, at least offered stability and predictability, others pushed against that idea. They were convinced that the raw speed still existed in this new package. It just hadn't been accessed properly yet. And that's the real Formula One dilemma, balancing speed against control. A car might look good in simulations or wind tunnel numbers, but if the driver doesn't feel confident through every corner, that speed becomes irrelevant. A few tenths gained on the straights mean nothing if you're losing grip in the slow turns. The debate inside the Ferrari team started to mirror the team's past struggles. Memories from 2018 came flooding back, a year when a rushed floor change after the French Grand Prix sent them down a path that eventually cost them the title. And again in 2020, an ambitious engine plan led to an entire season of regret. With Hamilton now in the car, the stakes felt even higher. Give him the right tools, and he can fight anyone. But give him instability, and even he can't perform miracles. By the end of the day, no final decision had been made. But the pressure was mounting, and the garage atmosphere had shifted from cautious optimism to quiet crisis. Hamilton, though, wasn't waiting for a boardroom verdict. He had his own plan to get answers. Late into the night, long after most teams had packed up, Hamilton remained fully engaged. The simulator room at Ferrari's base was lit up, not with camera flashes or press noise, but with quiet determination. Lewis wasn't alone. Alongside him was reserve driver Antonio Fuoco, both of them working through different setup options. They weren't searching for magic. They were looking for something consistent, something that made sense. The setup, sheets were endless. Changes to ride height, adjustments in rear dampers, small tweaks to anti-roll bars. They tried everything that might soften the rear's unpredictability without sacrificing overall speed. The simulator was fed with data directly from Monaco: tire behavior, airflow changes under the floor, brake patterns, corner entry loads. Graph after graph flickered across the monitors, each revealing a fraction of the truth. And still, the puzzle didn't solve itself. Hamilton didn't leave. He kept driving virtually, lap after lap, comparing notes, asking questions, feeding back his experience. This wasn't about finding a second of pace. It was about making the car behave. All the talent in the world can't do much if the machine refuses to follow. And meanwhile, back at the track, rivals were improving. Red Bull continued their solid form, clean, stable, fast. Mercedes, too, were quietly closing gaps. The field was moving forward, race by race. And Ferrari? They were still trying to stop going backward. In a season where every tenth of a second carries weight, Ferrari's window to fix things is shrinking fast. For Hamilton, who left a proven team for a new challenge, time is more than just numbers on a clock. It's the difference between chasing another title or watching it fade from the pit wall. Rosberg's final words echoed the mood across the paddock. Simple, clear, and accurate. Fix the foundation or lose the season. It wasn't a threat. It was a reminder that in Formula One, there's no hiding place. If the car isn't right, everything else falls apart.